Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dr. Glenn Vo, and welcome to the Backstage Podcast. Now, I'm super excited to have an amazing dental entrepreneur, also Backstage member. It is the one and only Kirk. Teachout. What's up, Kirk?
Hey, Glenn, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Okay, so I have to address something right off the bat. Right off the bat, I'm sure there's so many people they always ask you this, and so many people they're always wondering, is Teachout really your
Oh
last
gosh.
name?
I do get that all the time.
You do. Heck, you even got it
I
from me when you
do.
first met me.
Yeah,
Tell
yeah.
us.
So I do get that all the time. Long story short, basically, when Edward Teach, his family found out he was a pirate, not a privateer, they added out to the end of his name so that way he could no longer be part of the Teach family anymore. And Edward Teach is Blackbeard. So that's where my name came from.
No, come on, man.
I'm
Come on,
serious.
man.
I'm serious.
Come on, man. So who would have
That
known? Who would have known all the
yeah.
years of watching Black Sails and Pirates of the Caribbean that it actually will come, it actually meant something. Now, I actually understand what you're talking about there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
So,
cool, man.
yeah. Yeah, it's fun.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So I need to dive right into it because, I mean, man, you have helped so many dentists out there become more productive, right? The thing about dentists is that we always like to stay busy. In fact, you should know you're actually married to a dentist, right?
Yep.
And so the thing is sometimes we like to be busy, but it's to our detriment.
Mm,
Sometimes we do things that we shouldn't be doing. Sometimes we're just like filling things that are scheduled that doesn't make any sense. So, Kirk, for those who don't know you and they're learning about you right now, what do you do? How do you help dentists like myself?
for sure. So, like you said, my wife is a dentist. So, we have a practice and we bought in September of 2019. And 6 months later, if you do the math, COVID happened, right?
Yeah.
So, during those 2 months that we were shut down, we asked ourselves two questions. What do we want? And how do we want to do it? And so for 2 months, we sat down very intently and was just like, okay, we have kids, we want to be home more, but we still want the lifestyle. So how can we do this? And we came back 3.5 days a week, saw a 57% increase in collections, streamlined some of those systems, and just kept refining to where a year later, when we went on maternity leave, we couldn't find really anybody to come in. And I didn't want to pay 3x for a locum to come in, but we found somebody who was renovating for 3 weeks of the 6 weeks my wife wanted off. She had never done more than $6,000 a day in her own practice, including hygiene. So we were a little concerned because my wife was doing 10 to 12 on her own. But during that time that she was there, for 3 weeks straight, she was doing $15,000 days every single day. Now, the first week, maybe an anomaly. I know that was my wife treatment planning, but the second and third week was not. So it all had to do with the systems from the team and from the doctor doing all these things from front to back and back to front. So what I do is I help doctors understand the business side and the operations side of their practice, whether that's working 3 days a week and having seven figures come in, or working 5 days a week with four associates and being able to scale from there to where it's not chaotic, but it gets easier as you scale in a nutshell.
I mean, I love that. I love that. And I loved how you took an opportunity where, I mean, there was a lot of uncertainty, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things that are going on. And you just kind of took that opportunity to try something, right? Try something. And you
Yeah.
kind of created the system where now doctors can be a little bit more intentional with their schedule and
Yeah.
actually be able to produce um, what they're looking for, right? So before we
Right.
get into that, I mean, there's always a backstory, and
Of course.
I kind of shared with everybody that you're married to a dentist. So I mean, I guess that's a reason why you got roped into the kind of like this crazy profession. So just
Yeah.
share with everybody actually your background because again, I think that's very something that people find really interesting is that no, you didn't grow up in a dental practice. No, no, you didn't work your way through the practice. You actually kind of kind of gotten pulled in. That's what spouses like to do, pull you into things. Share with your your background, where your training is, and then talk about when your wife decided, hey, Kirk, I kind of need you in here. Share that with us.
Yeah. Okay, so my background's the music industry, not dental. So my brain works a lot different than most people in dental.
Yeah,
Um, Simply because I have that creative side to my brain. But while I was in the music industry, so I was a touring artist for many years. We toured the world, had a lot of fun. But D4 year, my wife was like, "Hey, if we're gonna have kids, like you can't be on the road anymore."
yeah,
So I
yeah,
was like, okay. So I transitioned from that, and I was okay with that because I mean, we would get 2 hours of sleep a night, like if we were on tour. So like that's not fun. um, it was fun to play, um, but when you're in a band and you're trying to do it, it's very hard. And it's a numbers game. It's all in who you know, and it's a cutthroat industry. So now to be able to do more remotely from home, being a producer and a manager of artists was a lot easier. So I was able to produce for huge artists while I was at home, watching our kids as we had our first two before we bought the practice, and also managing people on American Idol and The Voice and just trying to help them understand the business side of the music industry, just like I figured out. So before I even started coaching doctors, I was coaching artists
yeah.
full time, uh, which helped me understand people more, right? Which led me into my wife being in an associateship, and she was like, "I got to get out. I want to buy a practice. Will you help me?" And that question was the turning point of everything, right? Will you help me? I was like, I don't know anything about dental. I barely go in every 6 months for my cleaning. That's not something I know, but I will. I'll help you. So I pulled back from the music industry a lot, and then I started helping her just through and through. Crying every day, coming home from the first 6 months until COVID happened, and figuring it out along the way and putting out every dumpster fire as we go.
I love the fact that there's so many different coaches and consultants out there, right? And I think the biggest thing is when people ask me like, who do I recommend? I tell them, I was like, you got to work with someone who's kind of like been through it. Like, yeah, we can all go to a Tony Robbins seminar, right? We can,
Sure.
right? We can do some online training. Heck, you can get a lot of certifications online.
Right.
But for me, I feel like you have to go through it and you have to experience it for you to be able to coach that. And then I love the fact that you've kind of like gone through I went through a newbie phase down to the working hand in hand with my wife and literally living it. Not just, you didn't just go to practice and go home and it went away. No, you at the dinner table, you probably heard it.
Oh
While
yeah.
you're changing diapers, you probably
All the
heard it.
time.
You heard it
Yep.
all the time. So with that being said, obviously you figured out things and now you've kind of helped other dentists kind of achieve the practice of their dreams. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a little bit, but I do want to ask you this. I can't have you on the podcast and not ask you these questions.
That's fine.
What do you feel about what would you say? Give me like two things. If
Okay.
you want to be an overachiever, give me three things. But give me a couple of reasons why dentists don't have a very efficient schedule.
Ooh.
Why is that? Like, why, like, I mean, there's templates there. You can go on to Open Dental or Dentrix or Archie or anything. You can put templates there, right? You know how much time it takes for you to do something. But why is it that dentists still have, or dental practice owners still have this problem of making their schedule productive? Why is
I
it?
would say it's, I'm going to quote this because this is something that's is so true. Alex Hormozy says this. He says, people fail not because there's some magical list nobody has. They fail because it's an obvious list nobody does.
Yeah.
Right. And just to your point, what you were saying, most people know what they need to do. They
Mhm.
just don't make the time to do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, if we wouldn't have had COVID and forced us to make the time, we probably wouldn't be where we are.
Yeah.
But because we didn't have anything else to do, but we knew that when we come back, we're going to have to do something different
Yeah.
because we don't know what the world is going to look like on the other side of this. What do we want out of this? So we sat down and did that. But for most people, I feel like they know what they need to do. They just don't want to maybe put forth the effort of what it takes, right? The price is not worth doing it to get to that result. But a lot of times too, like especially with the newer owners, they don't know what they don't know,
Yeah.
right? I mean, do you remember when you first bought your practice? I mean, do you remember how the first 6 to 12 months was just keeping your head above water and hoping that everything stuck together? And, I remember those first 6 months like it was yesterday, where we would have a $3,000 day and did 27 fillings and saw 30 patients. And we were like, why? That was so bad.
Yeah.
Right. But then the next day you saw 8 patients and you did a $12,000 day and you're wondering, like, okay, we need to do more like that. Why was that way? So what I do is I try to focus on consistency. Tortoise in the hairstyle. It's not about having those massive $20,000 days. It's not about having the $3,000 days, although we did have in one week our best and worst day in one week. I like consistency because I feel like if you can do $10,000 days every single day consistently, you're going to outpace the industry, period. Because when you have those massive days, it takes a lot more energy most of the time. Now, I'm not talking about your all in X clinics. I'm not talking about anything like that. Just bread and butter dentistry. If you have massive days, it takes a lot more energy and a lot of mental focus and physical. Like it's hard. But, same thing with those low production days. Typically, the lower production days happen sometimes due to scheduling, but it's because now you've placed all your energy on that massive day. And so you don't have the energy for the next day to actually do what it takes to get it up to where it needs to be. So that's the reason why I promote working 3.5 days a week, because we only work 4 to 6 months out of the year and we have more time off than we have on. So we have the energy now to do these big days consistently without having to worry about the constant roller coaster of production. Did that answer your question?
It does. I mean, the roller coaster of production is, can you imagine kind of like the roller coaster of like a normal day, right? Can you imagine like, okay, I have a teenage daughter right now, right? So every once in a while she'll have a meltdown. I can handle that every so often, but handling it every single day is a beatdown, right? It's a
For
beatdown, right?
sure.
So it totally makes sense. And I think like with most dentists, we're like, okay, I gotta hit these numbers. I gotta hit these numbers, and okay, I'll squeeze this in, and I can have this massive day, and I just want to try to keep on doing that. But people don't realize, just like, one of my good friends, he has a very simple approach to working out.
Yeah.
It's like he was like, I'm just gonna do something that I know I can maintain. I was like, dude, but you got to do like the hard 75 and all that. He was like, no, man. Like, I'm gonna do something I can maintain, because if I go do that, I will complete it. And guess what? I'm gonna go back to eating donuts and pizza and sitting at home playing video games, right? I want to do something
Yeah.
I can sustain. And so really it's the same thing, is what you can sustain. I love that. Now, for the doctors that you have worked with, okay, I know this is kind of like a blanket question, so it's gonna be hard for you to answer, but generally when you work with them, when do they start kind of like turning the corner and seeing something? Is it depend on the person, or is it are you at the point now where I was like, okay, if they give me a real effort, they can start seeing it at this stage. Like, share with our viewers and people who are kind of interested of possibly working with you. What
For
can they
sure.
expect?
So I would say it definitely depends on the practice.
Sure.
And I hate to say it because, you know, some people it takes a little longer depending on how much their effort they're putting in,
Yeah.
or maybe the practice dynamics. Like
It's
maybe
like
it's just
learning an instrument, right? You can teach anyone
right.
to play a guitar, but if someone's at it, they'll learn it faster.
Yeah.
If someone's just on their phone and not listening to you, they might not get better, you know?
Well, exactly. And, the parameters of the team, like maybe they don't have a great team. right? Which falls on leadership. So we need to focus on leadership first, right? So to me, it's the average is around 90 days. Like
Okay.
that's where I can take most practices and start moving the momentum the other way, right? Which is
And
why I try to
that falls in
focus on,
line with anything you want to implement, right? That's why people
yeah,
do 90-day plans.
right,
It takes that
right.
long.
So like if you can pull up a Google Doc and type out every single thing that you did that day and do it for 90 days straight, you will be massively different after 90 days,
Wow.
right? Now, do I have those clients that see results the next week? Yeah. You know, they crush it. Recently, I had a practice that was in the red, like 20 grand plus a month for 6 months straight. He was about to sell his practice.
Wow.
And we did a workshop at his practice. We got him back involved and reined in the team, got his leadership up. And within the next week, they had never hit numbers before. We set a goal, we had a bonus system implemented, and they hit goal 3 out of the 4 days. And now he's profiting 60 to 80 grand a month after 2 months. So, does that happen? Yes. But those are your success stories that everybody loves to flaunt, right? Most of the time, it takes a good 3 to 6 months, depending on what happens, right? And what kind of team you have, what your goals are. Um, but it really all depends on the leadership of the practice.
And I'm glad that you were really honest and upfront about that, that sometimes it does take some time. I think a lot of times on social media we'll see someone, generally it's a maybe it's a marketing company, or
Yeah.
maybe it's some podcaster, and they're like, hey, I got this person, they were like freaking killing it, they opened the door, and like and people like it was like Black Friday, they were running in, they were like
Yeah.
pushing people over to get into the dental op, right? And the reality is does that happen? Yeah, it does happen, right? Like lightning strikes sometimes, right? But for the most part, for most people, it does take some time, right? And so I appreciate you being really honest about that. That you have a system that,
Yeah.
yes, you can't, if everything falls into place, you got a rock star team, you're in a place that need, and your head's on straight, and everything, when the stars are aligned, yes, it can be like that. But for the most part, for most of us, you got to work, but you'll start seeing something there. So I appreciate you being honest about that, because I'm sure you've seen it, and we've seen it.
Oh man. Yeah.
It's like I just opened the doors, and again, like Black Friday, people are pushing over everyone, pushing old ladies down to get into your office, right? Like, I mean, does that happen sometimes? I guess it does, but that's not the norm.
Right. For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
So let me ask you this. So give like one thing, someone who's listening right now, give them like one tip. Give me one. I'm only asking for one.
Oh
One
my
thing that they
gosh.
can do that they're probably not doing that could help improve their practice.
Okay. So this is something that I've been really harping on over the last few months. It's very simple. It's not easy, but it's very simple. It's what I call the 24-hour rule.
Okay.
So after you've had your engagement platform, whatever it is, send out all the confirmations, everything's Gucci. If you don't want people to fall off, now you can't do anything about confirmations that are confirmed and they still fall off. Like that's something you can't really attest for. But 24 hours before, you've had multiple touch points with the people who are unconfirmed at this point. Call them in the morning, like 8 o'clock, whenever you get there, and just say, hey, Miss Jane, unfortunately, we haven't been able to get a hold of you. And unless we hear by noon today to confirm this appointment, we're going to need to reschedule this. We hope to look hearing from you soon. Right. We leave that voicemail and then we double book it if they don't book by noon. Because at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, Miss Jane's not going to show up.
Yeah.
Okay. If she does show up, and that's the first question I get after I say that in all these workshops is like, but what if she shows up? Like then we say, hey, Miss Jane, unfortunately, we haven't been able to get a hold of you to confirm this appointment. We're going to need to reschedule this.
Because you already warned her.
Yeah, we already set the expectation.
Yeah.
And she got the 7 text messages to confirm her appointment before that. Okay.
Text
So,
messages and emails, everything.
right. So it's just like you've already had the touch points. She didn't do her side of the job because we fail to realize that there are two sides to each of this.
Hmm?
It's not all on us. So I harp on the ideal patient, right? Because if you focus on that right there and setting an expectation and a standard with your patients, and I know you've heard me talk about this, right?
Oh yeah.
It's like if you hold a standard, not only with yourself and with your team, but also with your patients, then they will rise to it or they will leave. And that is okay because naturally, when those patients rise to that standard, your treatment acceptance goes up, your schedule efficiency goes up because now people aren't coming late. You don't have to worry about confirmations as much because people show up or they confirm, right? And they're upset when they have to cancel, not not caring about it if they have a different appointment, right? So we leave that voicemail and then we reschedule that appointment. Well, that's going to make her mad. I'm like, yeah, but sometimes you got to hit them on the back of the hand, just like we do. I don't do that with my kids, but right. But sometimes we have to perform discipline
Yeah.
in order for the pain to be there so they don't do it again.
Well, she's got to take you seriously, right? And
Right.
I love the fact that you go back to, we want to have the right patients, right? Like if they leave, then that's not the right patient for you.
Right.
Sometimes dentists they like to practice, I call it like the buffet mentality.
Oh,
You go to a
yes.
buffet and you just start piling your plate with like you
Yeah.
start at the beginning, this looks good. You start piling the plate before you even get to the end where like the filet mignon and lobster's at, and then you put it then it's like a mountain, right? Then you have to eat through all the stuff you really didn't want to eat. In reality, you just wanted the steak and lobster, right? And so if you're going to make it easy for patients who don't value your time, then your schedule is going to be full of those patients.
Right.
And
But
if your schedule's full of those patients, man, you don't have room for the really good ones, right? Or maybe because you're trying to accommodate some of these patients that are not ideal for your practice, it
right.
ends up hurting the good patients,
For
right?
sure.
Running behind. You squeezed in this person,
Well,
right?
and it burns your team out.
Exactly. I love it. That's
So,
great advice. That's something that everyone can implement, but guys, there's so much more. There's so much more.
oh
Okay.
man. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. For those who they want to learn more about, how you can help them. And
Sure.
I'm letting everyone know that Kirk had like an amazing retreat not too long ago. I saw the pictures and videos but the coolest thing is just seeing how the dentists like have talked about what he's done for their practice without even him knowing. Like they've told me, they posted in the Nifty group. So for those who want to kind of see what you can do and how you guys can work together, what's the best way? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So a couple things. I live and breathe on Instagram. So if they get on Instagram at Kirk Teachout,
Slide in your
um,
DMs.
yeah, slide in my DMs because I am in
Professionally though,
there.
guys, he is
Oh,
married and
yes, please. But another thing they can do is they can download the template that we use, like that template of the schedule for free at dentalscheduletemplate.com.
I love
And
it.
they'll be able to book a call with me there. They'll be able to get that for free no matter if they book a call or not.
And
Um,
what about like guitar lessons for their kids? You got
we
some
can look into that.
I love it. I love it. Well, Kirk, man, thank you so much for jumping on, man. I've been wanting to get you on for so long.
Yeah,
Guys, here's the thing. If you're busting your butt in your practice and you're getting burned out, or maybe you're thinking there's a better way, the only thing you can do is get more information because you only know what you know, right?
yeah.
And the thing with Kirk is he not only knows what to do, he actually lived through it and literally listened to it at the dinner table too. So that's what I love about him. But Kirk, thank you so much for jumping on, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time.